Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Stash Report from the Stash Project. Today is January 18th, 2021. For everybody's having a 3-day weekend for Martin Luther King Day. Sup? Lucky. I gotta go to work in a couple minutes. So we have one sort of new announcement to make. It's something that Round 2 had been teasing for a while without giving too many specifics. We finally got the breaking news, as it was actually the day after we put up last week's video. So we're going to cover that. And then we have kit releases, both here domestically and, of course, overseas as usual. So, Round 2, giving you an all-new tool kit. No, we're not talking about the 63 Nova. That's old news. New all-new kit. Again, of an old subject, though. So, what Round 2 has decided to do, and this will certainly make a lot of the truck guys happy, a lot of people in general very happy, although I assume that a lot of people are going to not be happy because, well, this is another one of my favorite things. You guys may recall from back in the day when Hasegawa was reissuing a bunch of stuff that hadn't come out for a while. This is destroying your value. Yes. Right now, there are a whole bunch of KW mixers. You guys may realize, and we'll talk about it more when the kit gets released this week, or not this week, but this month, because it did not come out this week. Of the KW Mixer, right? The KW Mixer has not been reissued ever, apparently, from talking to some people. One and done. There are several of those up on eBay right now for $300-400. Little do they know that in about another 10 days or so, those will be worth $69.99 or thereabouts, depending on what your hobby shop actually prices them at. Another old kit that can't be reissued because it was modified, and then the tooling apparently doesn't exist anymore, is the International Transstar 4070A. This is one of those other truck kits that exists. This was an Ertl kit rather than being an AMT kit. That, yeah, again, issued once in 1973, then turned into the Transstar 2 4070B, and the Transstar 2 got issued a couple of different times, but from what Round 2 is saying, they don't know where the tooling for it is anymore, so they took an original, unmolested, it's worth $400, 4070A, and 3D scanned it. The entire kit. Meant cutting everything off the sprues. Oh my god, the kit value! And, well, they got the test shots back, and they found out that, lo and behold, the 4070A doesn't really build all that well. So they went back, and they've retweaked a whole bunch of things, and so now you have this. No release date on this, but it'll be 2021 at some point. And I'm going to show you pictures while I read you something here. But this is the all-new tool, 100% new tool, 4070A. It just looks awesome. This is a 1970s kit with 2021 technology baked into it. And this just can't be wrong under any sets of circumstances, unless you're just some weirdo who's like, oh my god, it's an old version of a new kit. So what we're looking at here is you're going to get an entirely new parts layout. So it's not going to be an exact copy of the original. It is going to be one color plastic, so it's not going to be molded in red like the original one was. They're saying that they've cleaned up all the molding parting seams because obviously it's a brand new tool. The fifth wheel won't be chromed. The wheels are not going to be chromed. The air cleaner piping is not going to be chromed. The manifold and the lower exhaust pipes are not going to be chromed. They fixed the air horns, so now they're trumpets instead of just having a flat end to them. The right-hand step, as you may have noticed, has been reworked so it actually clears the tire. The front axle placement has been adjusted so it clears the battery box. The front axle track width has been narrowed so the tires actually sit underneath the cab properly. There are going to be optional chrome-plated 10-hole Alcoas for the front. You just got steel wheels for the back. One part weight, one part tires, so that's always nice. And then they've separately molded the windshield A-pillar wind deflectors. Obviously going to get new box and new instructions and everything else like that because, it's a new kit. But yes, this is very, 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 very cool. This has sort of been one of those kits that I've always wanted to have. You guys know that I drive trucks, but I'm not that big of a truck builder necessarily. But yeah, this is just probably because it was unattainable. It was the reason why I really wanted it, and I was not about to pay $400 for one. But that is super duper awesome. It does bring up the interesting possibility of what else they could do this with. Also, how far ahead they thought about in the tooling process as to how they constructed the main core tooling, especially for the cab, because the 4070B's cab would need an entirely new face. Depending on how that cab tooling is split between, the four sides as they come together to mold the cab. If the front piece is separated at a certain point, you could swap that piece out for the other piece. Let's see how well this sells before we go too far down the road of things that could happen. But it certainly, I would think, would be one of the most popular truck resales, in addition to the mixer, the 2021 is going to offer you. You know, there's not that many more trucks that exist in the Ertl catalog at this point that haven't been reissued. Um, at least of things that exist, like the Alaska hauler, the parts to it don't exist anymore, which is why it's never been reissued. Because the longest time the W925 was thought to not exist, but the parts to make the 925 into the Alaska hauler are inserts, not actual like cab tooling and things like that. So could they go back and scan that stuff? Yeah, they could, but is it going to sell well enough to justify? A lot of people say, well, yeah, it's really expensive on eBay, but that doesn't necessarily translate into new sales today. There's a lot of old annual kits that are very, very expensive, but not necessarily in the sense that they would justify an entirely new $250,000 tooling and sales distribution. And the tooling cost of this truck is probably closer to $500,000 when it's all said and done with, considering how many parts are in a truck kit. So that is very interesting. I personally will definitely be upvoting with my wallet on that one. That's definitely a kit I've wanted for a very long time. Manufacturers suggest real retail prices expected to be $71.95 on that. So expected in the mid 60s, I would probably say, on a shelf, maybe lower 60s, depending on how much of a discount your local hobby shop gives you. But that is something, again, that's definitely been one of the most requested reissues all the time in every round two. When did you reissue the 4070A? The 4070A hasn't existed since 1973. It was merged into it was turned into the 4070B, which, again, like I said, requires a whole new face to the cab. There's suspension component differences. The airbox is different. There's a bunch of differences between the 4070A and the 4070B regardless. And then when you start talking about the fact that the cab was modified, well, they can't just reissue something that doesn't exist anymore. And then wherever the 4070 tooling as a whole went, nobody seems to know. So yeah, that's why the 4070B has not been reissued since the 1990s either. If that's something that just never came with the tooling because it's part of the stuff that belonged to Ertl and went with Tomy, like all of the international tractors and bulldozers and all that stuff, don't know. But this one at least has been retooled, and again, certainly something that a lot of people have been waiting for, and hopefully a lot of people will support with their money dollars to indicate to the folks over round two that, hey, this is something that we would actually really support. So looking at the round two releases for this week, first up you have the Ford C900 tilt cab tractor paired with the Trailmobile 27-foot trailer with their on the box here advertising as a enormous decal sheet loaded with options, but obviously Hostess being the shtick on the front cover here. We've mentioned before the last time that this was issued as a truck and trailer was 2002, and then 2008 is the most recent release of the C900 as a tractor. So people are already asking, well, can I get it without the trailer? Oh, I don't know. Probably some point they'll reissue it probably with Coke livery on it, but don't take that for certain, as that is not a thing that I know for a fact. But I'm just saying how things have worked in the past. But this is, like I said, you do get both here, so that's the key thing to remember. That's why it's 350 plus parts. You do get a pup trailer, you do get the tractor, and yeah, so that's pretty cool. Nothing new about it other than the decals. Otherwise, a venerable kit from the 1970s. And then we have a reissue of this, which is the the Step Fast Slammers. Yes, this is a series of 4 or 5 of these were done back in the 1990s. This is the Street Fury, a 1958 Plymouth Fury. You should know going in that this thing is molded in neon green. So if you want to make this white over green two-tone, you're going to have to paint that white over top of that green. So know that going in. All the 1990 graphics are on the decal sheet. It's a great big decal sheet as far as that goes. This is molded in 2 colors. The second color, of course, will be black for the chassis. This kit comes with no interior, no actual real chassis. The windows are blacked out. It's a slammer. If you're not familiar with that term from going to shows, that's a model kit that has no interior. The only chrome on this thing are the the end of the the rear fins. The front grille is chrome. The engine, the top pops out of the hood because no engine, just that little top that sits outside of the hood, and then the wheels. Those are chrome. Everything else is either black or neon green. Snap type. It's a a fun little thing, I guess. Something for your kids. And then lastly, from round 2, you have this, which is the AMT Surfer Van, reissue of the 77 Ford Econoline. This has been done a couple of different times now in the last 5-6 years. Most recently is the Coke Van last year. And this has the surfboards and the roof rack from the 65 Malibu, or 66, is it a Malibu? I have one of those. Let's see. It's probably not on the front side of this kit pile that I can see, but it's from it's a Chevelle. The Chevelle station wagon came out as a surfer station wagon. Well, those are the surfboards and stuff from that. New decals. It has Firestone wide oval pre-printed tires in it as well. But beyond that, all of these parts, I believe, were in the last versions. They've been selling them as factory stock, but they always had sort of the secondary components in the kit. This can be built factory stock or as a crazed out custom, your choice. And that will be that. And then the one Revell release this week, and this is technically a Revell of Germany release, but the reason we're mentioning it on the domestic side of things is the fact that this is the US release of this kit. You can't actually get this kit in Europe. It's sold out over there, or at least appears to have sold out. So if you want one, getting it here in the United States may be actually your best option for it. And this is the Volkswagen T1 camper van. So there's 189 parts in here. I've heard a lot of people sort of complaining that it's too many parts for this box. People are getting warp issues. Don't know if that's necessarily true. It seems to be another one of those situations with a lot of Revell kits where some people get bad kits, some people get good kits, and there's a lot of meh in between. And so it's sort of luck of the Irish, if you will. When you get this, this is going to be reissued later as just a T1 Combi, which is what this is based off of. So a lot of parts in here are actually new pieces beyond just the camper. The Combi version of it, which is the non-panel, non-23 window Samba bus version. There's just a regular sort of run-of-the-mill T1 Volkswagen van at that point. Is something that did not exist. So I'm not sure that the side panels of this are new, but a lot of the windows are new. A lot of the interior options are new. You get a bunch of different bumpers and things like that because you can build this US spec or you can build a European spec. All of the camper specific things were tooled up by Ebro. You may recall that this was getting shown around in the Ebro booth for the last couple of years. So this is the fruition of that venture. I believe the Combi itself and this are both have parts that are tooled up by the folks over at Ebro. So yeah, if you want one of these are now available in frontline U.S. hobby shops pretty much everywhere, so that option exists for you. And now let's go overseas, where we have a whole plethora of things, mostly from the folks at Aoshima, although there are a few Hasegawa things sprinkled in here as well, and a couple of Platts versions of the new kits. So let's do those real quick. First, these are going to be kits that just have had window masks added. So, reissued Mitsubishi Lancer Turbo 82,000 Lakes Rally version. You know, a little blurb there below the 1,000 Lakes. That's you're telling you that you have window masks. That is pretty much the only way you can tell the differences in the box arts when you go to order these. And then you have the BMW M30 E3 and its 91 Autotech livery. Again, the blurb there beside the B in BMW telling you that it comes with window masks. And then lastly, the BMW M6. This is the 2018 Macau Grand Prix winning car with the Charlie Lim commemorative edition livery on it. Again, right up there in the middle of the windshield on the CAD drawing is again the message that you're buying the kit with the window masks. And as we mentioned before, these window masks are not the traditional style window mask with a big honking piece of masking tape for the window. It is broken up into 4 hockey-shaped looking things so that you just basically have to get the corners lined up and then they all meet together in the middle. So it's a much easier style of window mask to use, and that's very, I don't say exciting, but very interesting to see. Sort of using a more aircraft sort of mask system. Hopefully it'll go to more things because it's a very, very convenient way to do things rather than fighting with great big pieces of masking tape. Over to Hasegawa, get a straight reissue of this, the Subaru 360 Deluxe. The most Volkswagen-looking thing that Subaru ever made, rear engine included. That is, like I said, just a straight restock. And then the kits for this week are sort of new kits, if you will, for the month of January. First up, you have this is the Chroma Racing Porsche 962C 1987 Northring livery for the World Touring Car Championship. The SAT additive. This car finished 11th in this race. Again, very weird because this car was won by a 962. This race rather was won by a 962C, so there's definitely that option. I understand, again, licensing and things like that. Looking at the box art here, you're going to have to paint the tritone yourself. They do include the white stripes portions of the SAT additive logos for the rear wing winglets as well as the top of the rear wing, but the actual white, light blue, dark blue is all on you, my friend. So there are no masks included for that. You're going to have to eyeball all of the lines. I mean, it's drawn out on the instructions, but as far as there being any sort of, lines or delineation, or as I like to call them, cover-ups, where this piece of decal covers up where that paint line should be, so it doesn't have to be exactly precise. Not in this kit, unfortunately. Then we have the next version of a new toolkit, and this is the STP Taishan GTR, the R32, for the 1993 Japanese Touring Championship. This car was the first place finisher at the round 3 in Autopolis. And this kit, you're going to have to paint the black and red two-tone. The bumper needs to be painted red, and then the back half of the car needs to be painted red. In terms of the decals here, they give you the black stripes for that graduated pattern in the back. So you're going to have to paint the red and then put the black on over top of it. So fun there. Most of these have been done the opposite way, where the red stripe is the part that's there, and you just have to paint basically the trunk of the car red, because the rest of the stuff, the black is this is the inverse of that, and so it does require you to mask the car up further forward, and then also have a good angle on those masks. Now, the way the decals are going to lay, you're going to get that black spot in front of the door handle, and then the next three black stripes are on the decal. They are designed as one big chunk of decal. My suggestion would be to chop it at the corner of that C-pillar window, and then you have a top half and a bottom half to work with. Might be a little bit easier. And then that third or fourth, really, thin stripe that goes over the rear wheel well, that's its own separate piece of decal, so you can place that freely and not have it be attached to anything else, which is a nice way to deal with that. But again, it's sort of the inverse opposite of the way those decals for Advan liveries have been done in the past, but it is what it is. You want it, you're stuck with it that way, I guess. And then we have this, which is the high-grade series Mazda Cosmos Sport. It comes with the metal engine details and some photo etch. So the base kit is the normal Mazda Cosmo. It's what you always get. And then there are metal transfers for the logos and the Mazda wording and things like that. Those are usually decals in the regular kit. And then you have the white metal rotary engine with some other white metal pieces for the air cleaner and things like that. There is wiring for spark plugs. There's some hose for the radiator hose as well. The entire hinge system on this thing is PE, so that's kind of delicate. And then there's a PE underhood texture piece as well. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how well that can be built up and how long that hinge lasts before it would snap off. But if you want to just sort of pose it with the hood up and leave it open like that, that might be an option that would work out. But this kit itself, let me see if I wrote it down here. It is not on here. Nope, it is 1994 was the last time that this kit was offered, so it's been quite a long time since you've had that build option. Now, that kit is more expensive than the other thing because of all the white metal and things like that. You're looking at about a $60 model kit there, so know that going in as well. And then lastly, from Hasegawa, this kit, which is basically another one with a new livery included, and it is a Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 4 in the 1997 winning livery for the Finland Rally. And this is Tony Mäkinen's car, or Tommy Mäkinen, rather, not Tony, Tommy. Decals done by Cartograph. Otherwise, the kit is pretty much the same Evo 4 that's been done several times over the last 2 years. Not a whole heck of a lot to write home about there. It's got the corporate Mitsubishi livery of the red and silver striping and things like that. The only thing you have to paint here, by the way, as we look at it, on the way out is the rear spoiler. That is red, and obviously you can't decal the rear spoiler because that would just look like nonsense. But everything else is all the rest of the stripes in red and things like that are decals. Just got to paint the spoiler, which is its own separate piece. It's not attached to the car, so that'll be an easy peasy paint. That'll take us to Aoshima. All of this stuff is reissues, and we'll go through it in the sense of reissues, and then the other sort of reissues, if you will. It'll make sense in here in a second. So first up, you have the Ings 2007 Subaru Impreza from the Tune Model car lineup, so that gets another run. Also from the Tune Model car lineup, the boxy style Toyota Hiace and the JZX 100 Vertex Toyota Chaser. And then you have the Liberty Walk, Liberty Works GTR version 2 Type 2, which is the Advan livery version of this kit. And then the Liberty Walk version 1.5, which is the old sort of sky gray version of the car. So that's back out there. Those Liberty Walk GTRs always selling like the proverbial hotcake. Now we go into the January kits, which again, also all reissues, but these are the official January kits for whatever difference that makes. And you have the reissue of the R32 Skyline GTR. This was planned prior to the Skyline GTR having an official release date at Hasegawa. So this is just a coincidence, but, you know, it is what it is. I still like this box art. It's a good, you know, just a straight side profile of an iconic car. This does have the top half engine insert in it if you're interested, but the chassis has always been a very weak point on this kit. And then we have this, which is the Suzuki Carry ST30 panel truck. This was supposed to come out in November. No real word of what the delay was. It's just a reissue. Nothing new about it, but that's back out there finally. And then the reissue of the 1992 Nissan Cedric Nissan Gloria in their Gran Turismo Ultima versions. Basically, the only difference here is the grills and the rear. I believe the rear taillight treatment is slightly different between these two. These cars were very, very, very similar back then. And then you have this, the Mazda RX-7 Type B Spirit A. This was a kit that they made, I want to say last year, or maybe the very end of 2018. There was an amalgamation of parts. They've had all these parts, and they put them into and made a new kit out of it that hadn't existed previously, but all the parts had existed previously. So it's one of those fun sort of rattling of the plastic, so to speak, from Aoshima. But again, at this point, just another reissue. And this is a 1997 Toyota Aristo, and it's Vertex ground effects version. And then also, this just came out today, the 85, 86, 11 GT Apex kit, and the 85, 86 Truno GT Apex kit. So these are both basically the same cars. They're just obviously the closed headlights, the pop-up headlights, and the open headlights. Otherwise, the kits are pretty much identical. Now, there's different taillight treatments between the two, but yeah, you know, it's iconic 86 kits for you. And then speaking of iconic 86 kits, you have the two Rocket Bunny modern 86s, which are the Enki Racing with the red box art and the, yeah, right? I'm trying to remember how this goes now. Enki Racing, and then yeah, you have the other the other one, the Volk Racing, the black car on the box art 86 as well. Very fun fact about these we mention every time because I think it's funny is the fact that Gretty and Rocket Bunny had to take two cars from Los Angeles. There were Scion FRSs, so they are left-hand drive American cars, and import them back to Japan because at the time they were making those body kits on the real one-to-one cars, the 86s were selling so well in Japan that they could not find any of them in Japan and had to ship American cars back to Japan, even though the cars were made in Japan in the first place. So, fun fact there. You could build those both as left-hand drive and have them be absolutely 100% correct to the prototype. And guys, that wraps up this week. So we hope you enjoyed it. Hope you guys had a great weekend. For those of you who are still having a weekend, enjoy your other third day off, and we'll see you guys on the other side.